find it at lawandliberty.org, Lying to Ourselves, which is just genius, and it prompts a lot of questions, which we're going to explore now with Theodore Dalrymple. Thanks so much for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for asking me.
Lying to Ourselves. I love this citation from The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, Agatha Christie novel, where the character Dr. Shepard says, "It's odd how, when you have a secret belief of your own which you do not wish to acknowledge, the voicing of it by someone else will rouse you to a fury of denial. I burst immediately into indignant speech." And it's such an illustration of the larger point about the views that people secretly hold that they publicly denounce, and that dynamic. Help us understand the person who does that.
Well, a person wants to appear to be good, that is to say, to have the right opinions, because these days being good is to have the right opinions. You can behave almost any way you like, so long as you have the right opinions. But if the right opinions are those which nobody really can sincerely hold, you're in the position of having to assert things which you don't really believe, and then you're like Dr. Shepard, who incidentally was the murderer in the book.
Yeah, right. It's an important footnote to the path that leads you down. So how do you explain what becomes popular, or popular enough that I can no longer say out loud what I believe to be true?
Well, that's a very difficult question, and it's a very important one. But things seem to grip. First, they seem to grip intellectuals and the academy, if you like, and filter downwards. They don't filter right to the bottom. I mean, I'm sure if you were to talk to your plumber or carpenter or anything like that, you wouldn't get anything like the rubbish that you would get from talking to a group of intellectuals. Nevertheless, the intellectuals do actually eventually get their way in society. One of the things I've noticed is how afraid politicians who are not necessarily in agreement with the latest fads, they're terrified of say, in America, the New York Times and those kinds of media, and in England, the Guardian, and so they don't dare say what they really believe, so they have to go along. So there's always it's a kind of asymmetrical warfare, if you like. The people who are opposing what is called woke, they don't really come out fighting with their full fists, whereas the people who are promoting some of these ridiculous ideas are obsessed by them and have absolutely no fear.
You cite a Chesterton observation from, I don't know, 115 years ago that has applicability today about Christian virtues gone mad, if you will, and specifically zero in on pity and compassion, formerly Christian virtues as you describe them. Pity and compassion as the basis for this cultural phenomena we're describing that most probably is best exemplified with the trans movement.
Yes, but it will move on. And in fact, in Spain, I was reading someone pointing this out to me, and I read the law in Spain. They have legalized bestiality in Spain.
Yes. Yeah,
because there's always a next thing. I mean, some time ago I said, what's coming next? Because people will eventually get bored with transsexualism and so on. They'll go on to the next thing, and they already have in Spain. They've gone on to bestiality, which has been legalized on condition that
they don't hurt the animal.
Don't hurt the animal, so that it requires treatment. Now, how consent is, how the animal gives consent, I don't know. I presume it's implicit consent if it doesn't struggle too much.
Now, if you don't hurt, you mean don't hurt the animal emotionally or physically? Like, what if you break up with the animal and the animal suffers from heartbreak, would that consider harming the animal? These are the kinds of questions that serious people are supposed to ask, I suppose, around the question of legalizing bestiality.
I mean, the animal will become
forlorn,
emotionally attached to its abuser or lover, if that's what you call it. And yes, I mean, it's absurd. Of course, the law won't make any difference, because I doubt actually whether there will be much public bestiality going on, so that it won't be. Bestiality is not usually conducted, I assume, not usually conducted in
Not
in
yet.
public.
Not yet. They could go to a bar with
right.
their dog and start making out with them.
That's the final frontier.
Yeah, well,
Theodore.
that may happen. It may yet happen.
Yeah. So, but okay. But you use that as a graphic example. Pity and compassion. So, expound on that. Fit that in for us.
Well, compassion now means actually not disagreeing with anything, with anybody, not confronting anybody with his own behavior, so that in order to be compassionate, you have to suppress any kind of disagreement. Tolerance, for example, is now taken to mean not passing any judgment on anything. But of course, that's absurd. In order to be tolerant, you have to disapprove of something, because of course, if you don't disapprove of anything, there's nothing to tolerate. So you can't be tolerant unless you disapprove of things. And tolerance is actually controlling your disapproval and perhaps not being utterly censorious. In other words, judging things, situations one by one, and coming to a nuanced, possibly a nuanced conclusion. But it's not a blanket, laissez-faire kind of attitude to human behavior. But that is what it has now become, because of course if you say to somebody, I don't think you should behave like that, that person feels that it is a personal affront, almost an attack. And so in order to be compassionate, you have to avoid any kind of attack. You have to avoid the truth. If, for example, you take a condition such as or a situation such as drug addiction, you have now to deny that it is anything other than an illness in the same way as Parkinson's disease or multiple sclerosis is an illness, which just happens to people, we don't know why. You now have to claim that something like drug addiction or being fat is just something that happens to people. It's got nothing to do with what they do, or nothing to do with what they are responsible for. And that is to be compassionate, to deny the humanity of people, individuals.
So, I don't know. I mean, you're a psychiatrist. How do you deprogram someone who has gone down this road, or maybe even just expose that mentality to people who are the beneficiaries, they think, of their compassion, when in point of fact they're just being sort of patronized and infantilized? But what is the response to this this pathology?
My clinical, I hesitate to say that I indulged in Socratic dialogue with them. I mean, I suppose that's a bit grandiose. But I did talk to people as if they were full human beings who made choices and decisions and so on, even if they were very bad ones. And on the whole, I found that people were willing to listen to what I say and actually agreed with it, because they were actually telling themselves lies as well as telling other people lies. And so this was, I think, the way forward. Though, of course, I'm not saying that I just had a Socratic dialogue with them and their lives changed, because often they had dug themselves into such a pit. It was extremely difficult to get out of it. I don't want to underestimate the difficulty of getting out of the pit that you dig when you have been telling yourself lies, possibly for years. But it seemed to me that one one couldn't help people by not telling them the truth of their situation. Now, as far as society is concerned, unless people start saying these things, then this kind of dishonesty just spreads and spreads and spreads, and I think that is what has actually happened.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
nothing is. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, right. You write about this too, and this is how we've seen this play out. That the person who is full of what they believe is pity and compassion, or maybe they would say empathy, he is ever on the lookout for new worlds not to conquer but to pity, and so. And so so this is how we jump from the cause célèbre du jour. So no matter how sort of worthy, it's just like all hands on deck, unquestioned, whether it's supporting Ukraine or it's sending your love to Damar Hamlin, the football player who had the attack on the field and stuff. And initially, or on their face, yeah, okay, I support Ukraine against a Russian invader. Yeah, sure. I pray that Damar Hamlin recovers, which he did. I'm happy for that. Yeah, fine. But it's not left there, and it is religious in terms of their immediate knee-jerk response to whatever is popular or supposed to be something that we're to devote our attention to in the moment.
Yeah, and it's very gratifying because it makes you feel virtuous, and if you're virtuous in general, a lot more is permitted to you. So, in a sense, the more of these compassionate gestures you make, the better you feel you are. But this introduces a kind of, how can I say, the logic of the arms race in it, and so gestures have to become more and more extravagant. And in fact, we come to think that people who don't make these gestures feel nothing. This is actually one of the themes of King Lear. I don't know whether you remember, but his good daughter refuses to make extravagant claims of love, and Lear thinks that this shows that she doesn't love him as she should, and he is warned by the Duke of Kent, who says to him, "They are not empty-hearted, whose loud words reverb no hollowness." Whose low words reverb no hollowness. In other words, you mustn't just take superficial expressions as being true signs of real feeling, and that is what we increasingly do. If you don't express things in an extravagant way, then you are held to have no feelings at all.
Right, and then I like the other the flip side of that too is when you are the extravagant virtue signaler, then that is that gives you more bandwidth for licentiousness. Because look at how good I was over here. Now, I'm sort of beyond reproach when it comes to anything else.
Yes, well, that's why I think opinion is now taken as a very large proportion of virtue rather than how you actually behave in your life.
He is Theodore Dalrymple, retired prison doctor and psychiatrist, contributing editor of City Journal and the Dietrich Weissman Fellow at the Manhattan Institute. His most recent book is Embargo and Other Stories. Theodore Dalrymple, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The Daily Herald 2022 Best of the Fox winner for Best Financial Planner is Total Clarity Wealth Management. The 2022 Reader's Choice Award winner for Best Wealth Management Firm and Best Financial Planner is Total Clarity Wealth Management. Are you ready for a change? Choose Total Clarity Wealth Management. With a professional team of financial advisors and CPAs, they can show you the way to financial readiness and keep you on track. Their philosophy is built on solid relationships and trust, with access to expertise in tax planning strategies, 401k rollover services, estate planning, and more. They can help you be ready for anything.
Hi, this is Terry Murphy. The cornerstone of our practice has been to help clients stay focused on their goals throughout life's changes.
Get in touch with them at TotalClarityWealth.com. That's TotalClarityWealth.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Total Clarity Wealth Management Inc., a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial. Awards are based on number of reader votes. This award is not representative of the views of clients and is not indicative of future performance or services.
Oh, all that rain and snow had to go somewhere, hopefully not in your basement or crawl space. With the melting snow and rain, homeowners are discovering new leaks in their foundations. Others will be painfully reminded that the leaks they experienced last year didn't fix themselves. That's when you have to give my friends at Permaseal a call to help fix those